Hello everyone, welcome back to another episode of Dinosaur Island. Today, we are here with Carney, walking to Dinosaur Central after just waking up. Carney has arrived at Dinosaur Central, but it seems really empty, basically abandoned. We still see Gypsy the Gryposuchus over by the end of Dinosaur Central. Carney decides to lay down in the grass and just graze through it. Carney has found a nice spot in the grass to just lay down. Gypsy rises up after having her slumber in the grass. She has had enough of Dinosaur Central, so she goes back to her home at Doom River. Meanwhile, we see this big hole. This hole has been mainly blocked off by this plant and more grass, but something wanders out of it. A Monolophosaurus. And no, if you're asking, this one does not have any relation to the one that died to Rocky in episode 1. This Monolophosaurus is just getting some plants to eat. Even though it is a carnivore, it does not live in a very good area of the island, living in what we like to call the dry plains, where not much plants grow and no one really lives. So he has kind of grown into an omnivore, but he decides to go to Dinosaur Central to maybe find some food to eat. This Monolophosaurus is looking for something mainly defenseless, like maybe a small herbivore, or Gallimimus, or maybe a sleeping dinosaur that can be caught off guard. But this Monolophosaurus, who we shall call Mono, or Monochrome, has had a history. He had an ally who was a Carcharodontosaurus who had ended up wandering into the southern area of the island without him and never walked back out. But he has made it. But someone else has also wandered in. Our lone raptor, Beta. Unsuccessful on finding a pack, she goes to Dinosaur Central to get some food or maybe a drink of water. She goes onto this cover of an underground research facility, plus kind of an underground tunnel to get around the island for us staff. On the cover, there is a tiny worm, and she bites, scooping it up in her mouth, eating it, and killing it. But she looks over and sees Mono, and Mono sees her. Mono doesn't really know what Beta is, as he's never seen a raptor, so he decides to run over there and take her on. Mono has knocked down Beta. Beta hits Mono and scratches him on the neck. Ah! Mono hits her with his tail, making her fall down, and he goes over there to bite her neck. Beta shakes him off, making him fall, and then she gets up on top of him and starts scratching and biting him all over the place. Mono is in pain, dying. A little ways away, a woken up Carney hears the commotion and goes over there. Mono and Beta have landed right outside of the cupboard. Carney can attack any one of them, but he grabs Mono, lifts him up, and throws him at Beta. Then he grabs Beta and starts to chomp all over her. Mono does not know what to do. He hasn't decided to stay or run away. Mono is kind of in shock, so he just stands there watching Carney kill Beta. But Beta ends up hurting Carney, scratching his membrane in his mouth. Beta runs away. Mono knows he will be killed, so he tries to make an alliance with him. Instead of Carney Fighting back, he roars. These two completely different animals have made an alliance. Carney tells him to follow him, and Mono goes with him. Here, across the island, we see Buddy, the Ankylosaurus, grazing through some of these prickly plants. But here, he's with his mate. Or, well, not really a mate, but Thea, the Therizinosaurus. She is over here eating some of these plants. And she's grabbing onto the stem with her claws. Now, as we said earlier, we said that Buddy and Thea were mates. Well, no, that isn't the case. They're just sort of allies together. But, as you can see, on Thea's face, she has a burn mark. That's because in her child years, she was involved in a fire accident deep in the Darkland Forest. This was years ago, though, and she's okay. She goes down more to get a closer look at the plants, and so does Buddy. Buddy has to be careful because his under part of his body is somewhat fragile. But they get to chow down on these prickly plants. Meanwhile, we're back with Dune, who is still taking his early morning nap. But something we haven't shown you is he is by a place that we know. This is none other than Carney's watering hole. And speak of the devil, Carney and Mono are approaching. Carney does not see Dune at first, but he comes to his watering hole and sees that it's empty and gets upset. Mono ends up pointing out Dune. Dune has heard the footsteps, thinking it was just some other animal, but then he heard the roar and looks over. He has hit Dune, who was already weak and unsuspecting. Mono jumps on Dune's back, starting to scratch him. He tries to shake him off, and he does successfully. But Carney grabs his tail and starts to swing him across the grass, throwing him. He took a dirty fall. He can't take on both of them at the same time. He tries to run away, but Mono gets in front of him, while Carney does the unthinkable. They have both fallen, Dune getting up, hitting Carney's face with his spiky tail whip. But Mono comes over and starts biting his calf, making him fall down. He starts to get on top of him and bites his neck. Carney has been knocked down momentarily, but when he tries to get up, Terry has tracked down Carney, trying to kill him, as he is one of his arch nemesis. He starts to bite down on his neck. Mono gets distracted from Dune by Terry and jumps on him, scratching his nose. Dune gets up and grabs Mono, throwing him. Carney is ready to take on the two of them, but they're just too much for him. Mono tries to come back and help, but it's too late. Mono soars through the air once again, hitting the abandoned laboratory, really hurting him. Carney, being adrenaline rush in an act of defense, hits Dune, running. Terry tries to chase after him, but since Carney is adrenaline rushed and running very fast, it's no use. Mono gets up and runs along with him. But for some reason, Terry and Dune can still communicate with each other, even though they haven't had a symbiotic relationship or made an alliance yet. That is because Dune is quarter T-Rex. And the way they got the T-Rex DNA from Dune was from Terry's mom, Rexy, who had died in the first dinosaur outbreak. Terry roars to the sky. Dune roars back. Dune and Terry have made an alliance with each other, now being the strongest pair of dinosaurs on the island that we know of. Thank you for watching this episode of Dinosaur Island.